Do you think it's anything to do with a certain religion, do you think?
No,
Is it anything
is
like
it?
that?
No, it's more to do with a kind of a drug, isn't it? It's a drug.
Yeah, well, those that take it ought to be ashamed of themselves.
According to The Sun, there were thousands of empty ecstasy wrappers littering the floor of the 250-foot-long hangar.
Drugs, sex, sensational.
Some newspapers have called Acid House Music a sinister and evil cult which lures young people into drug-taking. The message is certainly getting across.
The organisers kept the location secret until the very last moment, which was the main reason, according to the papers, why there were so few police here and they were unable to act.
Drug-crazed kids, some as young as 12, boogied for 8 hours yesterday at Britain's biggest ever ecstasy bash.
The party took place here, infiltrated by reporters from the Mail and the Sun.
There's meant to be a drugs-related craze.
What do you know about Acid House Music?
It must affect the brain in some way.
Unless it's just the music that does it.
All them lights flashing don't do you any good either, do it? I wouldn't even go in the pub where them lights are.
Oh, no.
They drive you mad, don't they?
Welcome to the 88 podcast with yours truly, Wayne Anthony. On today's show, we've got two special guests. One of them is Richard from Raindance, and the other one is the artist Steve Perry, aka Pez. How you doing, boys?
Oh, hey, how you doing?
How you doing, lads? We're going through funny times at the moment where we're all divided.
Yeah, all zooming.
Yeah, and I was going to say, technology is bringing us all together. We've probably all spoken more now via technology than we do in person these days.
Definitely, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's weird. It's bringing us together in certain ways and separating us in other ways, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, totally. But just going back to the 88 and Acid House days, Richard, yeah?
Yep.
Going back to before Raindance, because obviously you're famous for the Raindance parties, and would I be wrong in saying that Raindance are basically the longest running promoters in London? I mean, it's got to be close between you and Labyrinth, isn't it?
I think the difference between Joe and us is basically, I think Joe had a period away. He had a period, you know, he hasn't been all the way through, but I think there's basically a Raindance every year since '89.
So it's you. It's you in terms of London.
I've kept it going since the initial crews that were there. Obviously, Raindance was in place when I joined them on the second party, and run with them. Then Raindance split in Easter.
But let's go back. Let's go back a sec, Rich. So what was you doing? So before Raindance, yeah.
Yep.
So Acid has come along. You know, where was you and what was you doing?
once upon a time. Right. No, a bit of an unusual background in the mid '80s and whatever. Kind of stepped away from like mainstream. You know, I was a civil servant for the Ministry of Defence, etc.
You in New Romantic?
No, I've always been the milk tray man, mate. The milk tray man.
Slick black suits, yeah.
Milk tray man, isn't it? Always
under the cover of darkness.
That's it. So so mainstream employment. All right, then I left that. Was going to go back into nefarious activities where my family is from, and. Suddenly met someone you all know, Alan Bowers, who was playing football with Alan. He was telling me about all of this stuff that was going on, but I was still involved in a relationship, so wasn't really allowed out. You know what I mean, on your Thursday nights down at Camden Palace and Heaven and that sort of stuff. So this is about like beginning of '89, late '88, '89. Then the relationship ended. Went back to live with my old man, sold my house, bought a Cobra, running around with Alan playing football, and then just got on board, brought in a person that I know, Paul Black Box, that you know. I went to school with him. Before I knew it, I was part of the Paul Black Box's team that I named them the E team first of all. Then it became Special K, and then it went to Black Box, etc. We became known, didn't we, as the team that were willing to break into warehouses, and arrested in the morning if it come to that and whatever. And
that's how I met you, wasn't it? That's right.
That's it. And we were like obviously kind of rough and ready and user friendly, as it were, as it became heavier. Whereas before, at the beginning, you were using top end suppliers, weren't you? And then obviously they couldn't.
I mean, I should explain to everyone, that basically what Richard's talking about here with Special K and you know, the many adaptations that there was, is that when we were breaking into these warehouses, and like what Richard is saying, in the beginning we was using big guys and we was using all the high productions, but once the police started raiding all the warehouses, the big boys started dropping out because their equipment was being confiscated. And they get it back because they can produce receipts to say that it belongs to them, but ultimately they basically get their equipment taken away. And obviously this didn't fit with their
they couldn't seem to be part of it anymore, could they? As it became, politically
and so so we needed like a bunch of lads that had the sound system, that had some lights, that were willing to do anything, that were willing to break into any warehouse and wait for us to get there. It wasn't a case of they were doing their own parties. If we had like a backup venue, we'd call the lads, said, lads, we got this backup venue. They would go down there, Richard and the boys, Richard, Paul, Stuart, they would go down there, they would break into the building, which for us as promoters, we're all staging these massive parties in these warehouses. We needed someone to do that. And so what Richard is talking about here is that little team of geezers who were up for anything. I mean, they actually supplied the sound system for all the free parties that we did in your Slough Panasonic buildings, and even the Freedom to Party sound system. You did that too, didn't you?
Yep.
So that's actually what Richard's talking about. So he is talking about a really important element of the growth of the
There's
scene.
also other elements there, the cat and mouse game, which I know the listeners need to know as well, which you both know. Is there'd be the real crew, then it'd be like the fake crew, and anyone to kind of lead the police off into another warehouse, which was empty.
Good point.
Yeah, and
it's a great point.
You have somebody like, well, you go this way, and you get on your phone saying you're going to this meet point with this generator, and let them pick that up somehow. And it was just, then you'd have the real backup venue, or the real backup venue. And that's what I think was quite one of the most enjoyable parts of it, was the lead up to it, and this cat and mouse kind of naughtiness that was part of it for me anyway. Being part of that behind the scenes.
No, 100%, mate.
It's like, right, well, no, we're going to Harlow. Honestly,
yeah. And again, what Pez is talking about right there is that the fact that when it got on top and the big boys had dropped out, but again, all of the level of the lads that were helping us out, like Paul and the boys and Richard and all those lads, they were being followed by police, and a lot of them were under heavy surveillance. So sometimes we'd have 2 or 3 sound systems, and then we'd send different people to fake addresses, with empty vans, and it looks like they've got the sound system in it and stuff like that. So it was a game of cat and mouse.
There was definitely elements of that way, and like what you're saying about like being watched and things like that. That as may be, but there came a bit towards when it had boiled down to like our lot doing it and whatever. It became a smaller world, and the authorities were well on top of it. Right, they could quite easily have stopped Paul from going out and doing anything because they knew where he lived. They could have just pulled him the moment he pulled away from his premises and whatever. Right, that didn't suit them at the time, because there was definitely another agenda where they wanted to. It was politically expedient to stop it. The Acid House Squad was set up.
Yeah, because we're talking about 1989 at this point, aren't we?
Yeah, at the end of 89 through to 90, the Acid House Squad was set up. So from on high, with the media pressure on high, okay, we need to stop this. But then the group that was set up, etc., then they started empire building. So it was in their interest for events to happen, for them to be able to demand more money, etc., right? As opposed to stopping it, which they could have done like that.
Yeah,
they let it go, etc. And it suited us because we got away with stuff, and they built their own little empire, etc.
Like
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a bit of social engineering. Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
Is it actually an Acid House Squad? Is that what they called it?
Yeah, the Acid House Squad.
Yeah. I mean, that was what we called it, nicknamed it.
And it also
sounds like a painting.
Became. No, I think it was actually called the Pay Party.
Yeah, it was called the Police Pay Party Unit, because the reason why they called it the Police Pay Party Unit is because it was important. Yeah. It was important that there was a money element to it. And once there was a money element to it, then they had to change the laws to match that. Because if you look at, there's a declassified intelligence documents from that period that you can download.
Yeah,
you can download them.
I haven't looked at them, but I mean, like, Gordon, who's doing
I've looked at some of them.
He's seen loads of documents and knows there's loads of, like, it's out there. Do you know what I mean? And,
no, it's out there. But when like Margaret Thatcher and when they was all plotting to stop it, because what really kind of really peed them off was that she got a letter from one of her Lord friends, and again, this is part of the documents. Okay. She gets a letter from one of her Lord friends, basically saying, "Look, this bloody bunch of hooligans kept me awake all night by being on the field next door to me." And then there was another letter in reply to that, basically saying, "Oh, we're going to get on top of this."
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago when the documents came out, even like the Sun newspaper, the Sun Online, they actually did a big thing, a big article, and like the headlines was something like, Margaret Thatcher didn't stop Acid House because of the drugs. She stopped it because of her friends being kept awake at night.
Yeah, but he was only upset because he didn't get paid. It was on his mate's land.
As we've got older, the more we've done, the more we realise how the fucking world works, right? How the world works.
Sure.
Right? To just digress for a second, like you've got the pay party unit, the Acid House Squad. So you've got the police that we know, you've got Tappenden and you've got Burrell, right? And then when it came down to like 91, 92, the top security company at the time, which was okay with the authorities, so you got your licenses, was Kevin Camp's Top Guard.
Okay.
Right? And then, as I'm sure you know or you don't know,
but tell us.
It was either Burrell or Tappenden. I think it was Burrell who retired from the police and then took a top position in Top Guard.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So he he worked for Top Guard to get all the licenses, etc., etc.
No way. And they were a bit naughty in them early days, weren't they? Top Guard.
I mean,
before the licenses and that,
Well, yeah. That's a different podcast, isn't it? If we want to go into like a really naughty world. But I just thought it was brilliant. Like Burrell just going along and joining, the gatekeepers, joining the other side.
Well, that's the usual way, isn't it? Then that's the thing. When I look at
members
members of Parliament,
companies and stuff like that. That's what happens.
Yeah, when I look at members of Parliament, it's just almost like an audition for what they're going to do next.
Yeah. Recognise
about
and I'll come and join your board.
And then they just go to a big corporation, and the one that they've been, lobbying for to change laws to help. They all go there. It's just like a big audition, mate.
It's all hidden agendas, isn't it? We all
I haven't got
all right.
And so when obviously, when you've come into Rain Dance now, you've come from the second party, which really, you're there from the beginning, really.
But a lot
I remember the first
that day, hadn't it? It was already at a point for me at that point. It was like it had already gone on for so long that it felt like it was, for me, it felt like it could end any minute, because we'd squeezed everything out of it, and it got to the point where they were coming on top with it. And I thought, everyone thought it was like, oh, this is the last summer. This is the last few parties. It's going to be over. And to think it's got 30 years on, it's still.
I don't think anyone ever thought, didn't think that far ahead. As I say, I came out of mainstream land, and okay, what am I going to do? And then because fell into putting on parties. Realised breaking into warehouses, seeing a party, whatever, that within about 10 minutes of being in somewhere, I could understand a party. Right,
sure.
So I've got that. I realised I didn't know I had it, but I've got that ability to walk in anywhere and understand a party that's going on, or know how to do a party. Whereas some people can buy a property that's completely blank and know what they're going to do with it. I haven't got that brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like a property
skill,
brain, but I've got a kind of party brain. So I saw that.
You made it work, mate. You got a corporate brain. You got a branding brain.
Well, or no, I just know how a party works. I know what people do when they come in, what they're doing, why they're doing it before they know what they're doing and how to. So discovered that ability.
Yeah, but the way that you've branded yourself all the way through, you've always been
the point I'm making, I fell into somewhere that I could run with and earn money, and okay, I can do this with my life, as opposed to not knowing what I wanted to do. I was able to do it because there was no control mechanism.
It was more fun than the other stuff, wasn't it?
a lot more fun way. You know,
wasn't it anything to not getting a job?
Yeah, but yeah, basically,
that's what we all did.
Any way of staying out of mainstream employment or whatever. So this was a way of running with it. No family control mechanism saying you have to get a job. So that didn't matter. So I just run with it. Lumped in with Rain Dance on the second party, which is I'll tell you about. Like the second one was basically it was.
Remember, sorry, just to go back to the first one, yeah.
Yep.
Because you was there. Did you go to the first one?
No. Wasn't there on the first one. We've been doing something else, with Paul.
So you didn't even go as like a party head.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I was curious.
Right on our manor, and we didn't even know it was going on. So
yeah. There you go. But I remember the way that they advertised it though. Wasn't it like meeting points and coaches? It wasn't. The address wasn't on the flyer, was it?
No, not at all.
So you did it. So it was done like old acid house style, meeting points, coaches.
It was it was a yellow flyer, the first one, wasn't it? Which was a bit retro. Everyone had moved on to designs. Had their imagery already. Sunrise had their look, Energy had their look, Biology had their look, etc. And then Rain Dance came out with a yellow bit of paper with black print on it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a bit.
Yeah. So that's where Pez came in, is it?
No, I came in a bit further down the line.
Yeah.
So they did the first one that was allowed to go all weekend. Nobody bothered him. The second one they did, so that was September. In November, then they did one that was basically a flyer went out for the Acid House side of it. The meet points and everything, but at the same time to be allowed to get away with the setup for the site at Jenkins Lane, right? Be allowed, so because coppers were all told to look out for fucking fun fairs going up, etc., weren't they? Right. So the way they got round that was it was done as a children in need.
Excellent.
That's my first one. So that was how they were allowed.
Nice idea.
With it, and they did. Their money was made for children in need. Cameras came down, etc. They had
I was going to say you better explain that bit in case people think you nicked their money, but
no. The collections was
they
made.
Still got their dough.
That was genuine.
All completely legit, including with a license with the council for a disco to go till 12:30 at night, etc. and all that. So that's what happened. Then, so we did all the production for that, and then. After that ended, then we brought down all the people from the meat sites and just blasted through as an acid house party. And then a couple of hours later, the police came down in their like riot vans, and then they stopped it after about another hour with their, the riot shields, helmets, and everything.
I think it might have been when we took the sides down off the marquee and turned the speakers around the other way.
That was another one. That was further down the line. So basically, they went from like that children in need event. We did that. I then lumped in with Rain Dance, so started get like that sort of thing, helping with promoting Rain Dance. So I would like run around the country doing the promotion, being the face of the promotion around the country. I'd be down at Martha's Vineyard, Swansea, on a Friday night till about midnight. I would go up to the Dome in Birmingham on a Wednesday and meet the Amnesia Boys and that sort of stuff till about 2 in, and just running around. Flying.
That was the life then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah. You made a job. You created a career out of it. There was nothing defined about it. You were allowed. No guidance. That's the beauty of it. You didn't have to have a degree. There's no. You have to do this, that, and the other. You did it. We did it. He did it. We've created something for ourselves that wasn't there before, and that's half the appeal for us, isn't it? That's half of the appeal of us lot. We don't.
And had you ever done any kind of event before that?
No, nothing.
Same as me.
Not at all, mate. It's just like you discovered a niche. Oh shit, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? We just discovered it. We never knew, did we? So
totally, mate.
So I mean, so that was in November.
Yeah, that was that first night. Yeah, so this is November 1989.
That's right. And then
we should also point out though, they were fully licensed parties, wasn't they?
No.
The children in need one, though, that was right.
The children in need
was
licensed on that level.
Up until that point.
They were.
I mean, you did have a license there at some point, didn't you?
There was an alcoholic license on that site because it was a sports ground for the football things, wasn't it? And they had a
little bar.
They had a clubhouse.
Yeah, so you give out tokens, whatever.
I mean, but remember, there was no alcohol there at the time. Basically,
anyway,
So November bomb, and that coincided with like the main.
But I should also say though, sorry, Rich, to cut you in, mate. But I should also say before we get past and we move on, is that you're actually known officially as staging the first legal
Yes,
parties
that,
in
that,
the
that,
UK.
that was the first one. That was in March 1990. So we
Okay.
bounced.
Oh, it's
off
not, okay, so that was March 1990.
So
right.
we bounced off of a Children in Need legal, but the raves a spoof. Boom, we did that.
Okay. Yeah.
Then everything was stopped, wasn't it? Bang. Right.
Yeah.
So we got away with breaking into the Panasonic warehouse New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Mate. Then we did the after party in Radlett. We did that. So badness. You know, the two last hurrahs, as it were. And
Totally,
then
mate.
we had our party in March, where it would seem that the powers that be perceived the rain dance lot at Jenkins Lane as being suitable to be like the pressure release.
Yeah, totally, mate.
Stamp it there, and you'd whack it. It's got to come up somewhere, so it might as well come up and be whack-a-mole, rain dance up there. Jenkins Lane, they've got the site. Two, the people are also known to the council because they've got license for their Children in Need and they know who they are. But also the people behind it weren't anybody could be blamed for the worst excesses of what had gone before. So people like
it wasn't any old acid house party promoters.
Jay, Well Dance, Tintin, none of those people, Anton, none of those people would be allowed to get licenses further forward. They might be told do this, but you weren't getting anywhere, were you?
No.
Whereas our faces fitted, we had the site, and then suddenly we had legal licenses.
Totally. And then we were all like, who are these geezers?
You had a good barrister as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. What part? I mean, like
Ray brought the barrister.
Right, much like you were doing with your fire safety officer. Right. We actually had Mick Colston, who was a retired chief fireman or whatever. So he did that for us. We also had Ray's mate, who is now a top barrister. So we did actually. We were playing the game and knew what we were doing. Right?
Yeah, I thought you made a good point there. You made a good point in that you fitted. It had to come up somewhere, and you were at the right place at the right time.
And that's it.
That's a lot of it.
We run with it.
Yeah, that was massive. It was massive because no one had. It's the first time. No one had done it before. It was the first time anyone had got a license. So we was all, we was all like holding our hats off to you, going like. One was saying, who are these geezers?
All sorts of rumours flying around it. Who are we paying off?
Brown envelopes.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you were, who cares? That's how you do it, isn't it?
It's all quite fun. Who's he? Like nobody knew who I was.
And it was in East London, which is an interesting.
East London, so everyone's on Swallow's case. What's this going on your manor? And like, oh, don't worry, like rumours flying around, like do we combat 18 and whatever. Like, what the, like, do you know what I mean?
No way.
Remember, I was like, no, who's that little skinhead driving around the red Cobra sports car? Who's he?
Yeah. No, I remember you did have a bit of an intensity about you, brother. Like I remember you
know how to play the game, a bit of mystery, goes a long way. Drop a hint here and everyone runs with that, and you can get
totally, bro.
You know what you're doing.
Mate, but you had a bit of intensity about you, bruv. you stared me down a few times, like Paul and Stuart be standing in front of you, and you'll just be like there, just like looking, staring at me, mad dogging me, you'd be like, who's this geezer that got with them? But I have to say, Richard, you've been doing this for over 30 years, and still, whenever I see you and you're out and you're marketing your parties, you're still as happy as ever, mate.
Yeah.
How do you do it, brother?
It's given me a direction and a purpose and whatever that, it's cool. It's kept me poor but happy. Made money, lost money, spent money, whatever, and I've been allowed to do that, and that's the way my upbringing has wired me. That's how I am. Do you know?
Wins and losses, isn't it? That's just how it is.
I'm quite happy.
But you've had fun,
totally, mate. Well, like what you were saying,
I'm still going to have fun.
We've had fun along the way.
So mate, it's not over. What are you talking about?
We have fun.
We did just put this on for the money.
No, I mean we're still trying and pushing. You're doing this, like we're doing culture. We're still doing things, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? We're
still doing things that connect people.
Yeah, that's
and like one of the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, we're still trying, aren't we? We're still, we're claiming ownership of what went on in the past.
Exactly.
As opposed to the man just taking it and exploiting it and spitting it out. We understand what we've created. There's millions of people's lives that we've affected. And now these people are at the stage where they want to go back to what they loved before. So it's just like generations before that like are into the Rolling Stones and collect Rolling Stone stuff and whatever. Now you've got the rave generation that are interested in their past. We created these people, so we have to kind of provide them with, you know,
so we're just nostalgia.
Totally. But don't you think it's like a little bit mad?
Sorry?
Yeah, for sure. Don't you think it's a little bit, you know, bizarre that the, you know, like common history, like the Middle England, they listen, you know, they listen to Rolling Stones, the Beatles, they love all that music from that era, you know, the Doors and whatever, all made by people that were high on drugs. And they accept it for being this, you know, powerful movement. But then they look at Acid House and they say that because these kids are all on MDMA, it means that nothing meaningful ever come out of it. And it's like, well,
I think that's changed now.
That isn't the case.
It's changed now. Yeah.
But also, the reason is that it's just, think about the,
well, it's because it's us. We're in those positions now, aren't we? We're the ones making the documentaries.
People approaching me, particularly about the artwork, and it's taken some time. And I knew even at the time when it was all kicking off and the artwork was, you know, really, I was really prolific, that it would, the DJs and everyone that was having their time then, because they were in it, I knew, so I don't know why, but from being an artist and seeing how art works, it's going to take a long time. I'll probably have to die before it becomes really, you know, important to be related to that era. Is that we've already started to see that happening now. In the last 5 years, I've seen a lot more attention on what was the scene about as a whole, as a cultural explosion and all this kind of stuff. And it's just a given. I mean, you know, you only have to go back to all the jazz and all that, and there's drugs involved there. Every movement has, you know, even if it was swept under the carpet, everyone knows they were on heroin or they were as high on Chiba or whatever, you know, and it's just, you can't not have well, I suppose you could, a cultural explosion without something leading that and fueling it. And it's just accepted that's part and parcel now. And so we're now looking at our era as the validation of what as a whole is out there. You know, and we're not just a load of toe rags breaking into warehouses.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Like
I agree.
It's now it's acceptable to say that you raved now.
Yeah.
Okay? So we got people like people like friends of mine who were very reticent for a long while to admit they ever went raving.
Yeah.
Those same people now have, it's been established between them and their top bosses, right?
Yeah, that they were all there.
That they both raved. That they both raved. Well, look, and they're both now admitting it because it's socially acceptable to admit that, and everything that we created and how it's affected.
Well, the one for me,
artwork-wise, fashion-wise.
When I knew it had arrived, I don't know why it was on Desert Island Discs, right? So when you're on Desert Island Discs playing rave tunes, you know, right? You know that's it. Like it's established, it's written, you know. And that,
totally, mate.
Yeah, and then you do the next question is, what were you doing listening to Desert Island Discs? You know, there we are.
It's part of it. It's part of
it. Where we're at.
No.
The first Acid House track I ever bought was on CD. And it was a compilation album, and I bought it for Salsa House.
Oh, one of my favourite things.
Yeah. I bought it for Salsa House, you know.
Yeah, Salsa House.
But obviously, you know, you guys at some point, I mean, obviously, Pez is a great artist. He's done some of your iconic flyers. Yeah. So at some point, you decided that in rebranding Rain Dance, one of the things that you was going to focus on was the art, and I guess that's where our boy Pez comes in.
Yeah, I mean,
I just hassled them to death.
I was out doing the flying, so that would obviously be like the Pez would used to come down Rage, didn't he, on a Thursday, you know, and hassle everybody, all the promoters, all the industry when we were coming out. Probably like
you do it, man.
30 Mac saying, do you want to fly? Do you know what I
mean? Take my A1 folders. I used to take my A1 folders to Rage, right? And because I used to do the artwork for Kevin Millions, and I used to put it in the cloakroom with the guys there. I was a member of staff pretty much, and then put them in the cloakroom. And then at the end, outside underneath the archway, I'd just be on everybody going, look at this one, look at this one, and just hassle people. And it was when they brought the Mermaids one out, the Mermaids flyer.
This is one of your flyers, is it? I know you've sent me some flyers.
No, that was a Boris Valagio out of a book.
Complete rip-off.
And so I went and I hassled Ray and I just said, listen, look, you've got to have your own look, right? Because this is just out of a book. Everyone's doing the out of the book thing. You need to like let me do your flyer. Come on, let me put something together. So then what I would do, and it'd be quite interesting, I just paint stuff. And I painted one of the first Rain Dance flyers was actually going to be for telepathy, funnily enough.
Oh, yeah, Kenny.
For Kenny.
Mate Kenny.
But Kenny and me had an interesting relationship, which was.
You've got an interesting relationship with everyone.
I love Kenny, and I've got to give him some respect because he's the only promoter who managed to just keep hold of my originals when he promised to give them back, and they're never coming back. So no, this one night, this one flyer which had these two people kissing. With sheets over their head, like a Magritte thing, and it's like a quite telepathic kind of look.
I've got that one here, have I? Did you send me that?
Ray saw it, and he's like, "Oh yeah." Goes, "No, man, that's for telepathy." And he's like, "No, it's for Rain Dance," and that's it. Yeah, the one on the left there. So the kissing heads there. I painted them, and I hadn't. They were painted, and I thought, "Oh, that's really telepathic. I'll sell that to Kenny." And then when I showed it to Ray outside Rage. The rest is kind of history. He goes, "Yeah, no, that's our flyer," and that was it. That was the kind of the way it works. All bets were off, and that's how it was for Beyond Therapy. Like Jay and all those guys, World Dance. It was all hustling outside Rage, really. Hustling.
Can I just check? Can you see that?
Yeah. So it's the Kiss Heads one there. Was one of the first images that that we were using. So he had the egg one for Easter, with the alien style egg coming out with all the light, and it had all those connotations like it was a pill and we're all breaking out and all those kind of and all the messages were.
Oh yeah, that egg one, that was iconic, man. There it is.
Yeah, and that was a lot of people's first party, right? Because that was
the new generation. The Uncle Doug's. That was his first party he ever went to. Uncle Doug's.
I met a lot of like graffiti writers from back in my previous life at that party, because there was all these writers used to have all this beef and like all this aggression back in the hip hop stuff,
Yeah, totally, mate.
And they're all there, sort of happy. Right at the party. So, how you doing, man? Like we've been best friends for years. We hated each other in Ladbroke Grove or Covent Garden, where we used to meet up and all be all like.
Just to go back to something that of interest to people listening and whatever. So, like on a Monday night, where everyone would be down at Heaven for Spectrum, Land of Oz, etc., and then Thursday be down there for Rage. So basically, Monday, from my point of view, was us running around doing illegal parties in '89 and all that, and still down there on a Monday. Monday would be the results service. So we would find out, how did your party go? Did you get raided? Where is so-and-so? Oh, he's still arrested. Oh, have you got your sound system? So that was what Monday
Totally, mate.
Right, and then on
Did
Thursday,
you get your ticket money?
Yeah,
or did the security company get it?
Most importantly, did you get your ticket money?
So, but Thursday became the recruitment office. We've got a party this weekend. Are you available? So those were the two, aside from the mainstream punters, but that was how the industry.
Get a little flying squad. Can you come do some flying for me?
Wasn't it? It was a home base.
We do some flying for me this weekend. Yeah,
that's it. That was what it was for.
You'll do. Come on.
And I remember I did. We did that reunion. Actually, it was on the same night as a Rain Dance party. We made the huge mistake.
Yes, you did that with Finbar's Roller Express.
Finbar's gaff. I mean, we made a massive era, but I have to say, I didn't know. We didn't know that you was doing a party that night. Otherwise, we wouldn't have went on the same night as you. It was just, especially after such a long absence. And so on that night, what I wanted to say to you, basically, so for that 92 party that we did, we did 150,000 flyers. So I'm saying to you, and we ran out of flyers 2 weeks before the party, right? So you must have been going for a lot of.
Do that.
Yeah, you must have been going for a lot of flyers.
Yeah, but think about that for me. Think about that, how many flyers for my artwork are out there, right? So I've got somebody printing my artwork on 150,000, 200,000 flyers, and they're being given out. It's like Instagram on paper.
Oh no!
And there's all these people.
There's everywhere.
Yeah, I was living in heaven. It's just like, look.
So it's like a run, 100,000.
How many are you printing? And they're just everywhere. It was just it was.
But that must have been quite awesome, though, at the same time, to see your artwork out there like that as well,
and seeing people, because even though I was known in amongst the writers
and that,
in amongst the people that we were, you know, and I'd go to the parties.
Yeah, industry. That's what I always say to people.
I'd be on
industry.
the rave, on the podium like everybody else, but I wasn't like, oh, there you could put a name to that's like Fabio, that's Groove, that's so and so.
Yeah,
so
but that's how it was with all of us, though.
It was quite nice to sort of just see people standing there glaring, going, "Oh man, what's that about?" Yeah, and that's the best.
You know, we're all of the same.
Affirmation.
We're all of the same thing. We're not overtly out there. But the people that need to know us know us.
Yeah, and it's especially then.
Yeah,
especially
and still up to the point now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of blew that when I wrote the book, but.
Well,
the last reunion we did, and I say to people, it's like in those days we was anonymous. If you was in industry, you know you wouldn't know who we were. So, but the last party I did, mate, obviously with social media, I walked in the warehouse and everyone knew who I was, mate. And I tell you what, and so you'd walk through the crowd and people were touching me everywhere. You know, like. Like pointing me, like I just mean to get my attention, like, so, and they were calling my name. So I was walking through the crowd, I was hearing my name being called all different volumes by all different voices. I was getting people, they were trying to get my attention by poking me and stuff. For 2 days after that party, I could feel people poking me and saying my name, mate. And mate, I don't even take class A's these days, you know what I mean? So it was like, I was like, mate, I could hear people calling my name. It was bizarre.
We're kind of urban heroes, aren't we? We've become urban heroes.
Because you was at them reunions at night. You've always been a top geezer. To be honest, Rich, you've always been a top geezer. You've always been pushing the boundaries. You've always been promoting and marketing the whole movement, the whole culture in a really positive way. As I said, you're always happy. You're always smiling. And for someone that's been doing parties for 30 years, I mean, that's saying something.
Rain or shine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Rain or shine, you're there, mate.
It continues to keep me happy and motivates me, gives me a buzz doing it. I enjoy doing that, and it's anything to escape 9 to 5, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's what it's about.
Yeah, because that's another point that you brought up earlier, is that we were making careers, we were forging careers as we went along.
Correct. What am I going to do?
I don't know. For me, it was slightly different. I just, living the party and doing flyers for the party and thinking, particularly at the very beginning, like when in Sunrise and that kind of era, the area where you were doing parties at the very front of it, and sort of going out to like the equestrian centre or wherever and thinking, this is so amazing, so crazy. This is only going to have so much life in it. And we only thought it would last for a few more months. And it would just go back to what it was before, which is like R&B and kind of underground, like Northern Soul and all that kind of stuff. And we just thought this rave thing, that Acid was there. Then quickly it was like rave, if you want to call it rave. Yeah. And then I just thought it was going to peter out, and we just had to get every bit of it out of it while it was lasting, and it just didn't stop.
Listening to what you're saying now, when it first came, obviously Rare Groove ruled and
Rare Groove,
and then the Clubland evolved into this new thing.
But we were putting on Rare Groove parties, like Soul to Soul stuff, DJ Ryan, and all that. Which is
precisely the point I'm going to make, right? You were already au fait with how that world worked. This is the next big thing, right? When I came,
it's the same like Oakenfold and all the boys. They always Nicky.
When I came along, right, I had never been involved in any of that before. So I turned myself as like, you could argue that certain people, like, just when the Acid Teds or whatever you wanted to refer them as got on board, it became more unpopular. Like, you got a bit, some elements got a bit upset of it. It all went back. They wanted it to be elitist where it wasn't. I come in and I represent like the bridge and tunnelers, which is what I term myself. Like in New York, you have got Manhattan, and that's where it's at. And then when something becomes popular, people go to Manhattan via a bridge or a tunnel, and they're outsiders to the inside clique. So it's a derogatory term, bridge and tunnelers. So I regard myself as the bridge and tunneler, upsetting your cozy little elitist world, particularly Pez.
I don't know about
that.
I didn't notice he mentioned Ladbroke Grove. Sorry, go on, mate.
Raveland went from like, it was no longer like the beautiful people down Kings Road. It was the Oix and Romford. I mean, becoming mainstream. Sharon and Tracy were coming along, which you didn't want, but they came but knew nothing of that before. They just saw something and then just this is great and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? It just went everywhere.
Same as me, mate. I never thought about doing a party. I never thought about doing I'd never thought about doing a party at that point ever. You know, it was only when Genesis. Yeah, it's only when Andy's like mentioned it that I even thought. Even when I was going to the parties, I never thought I want to do one of these because you looked at it and it seemed like it was lots, didn't it? It seemed like all these they're all linked into one another. They all know one another, and we're not going to be able to get these people away from this. But then what a lot of people don't realize is that it did go in stages. Yeah. And there was a club stage, and that club stage was at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And once it moved out of that club stage, it didn't go back into the clubs. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So the boys that initially... Crazy. Yeah. And the boys that initially led the charge, which obviously we're all grateful for, you know, your Okies, your Fungs, your Ian St. Paul's, your Dannies... Well, your Roger people like that. You know, they led that club charge, and without that club charge, because I mean, we all went to their clubs, you know, and that can't be denied. And I mean, you know, if you was going to write up a conspiracy, because you know, I don't know if you've read that book, The Laurel Canyon, and it's basically
a link to that.
Say again.
You sent a link, didn't you? Is that what we're talking about?
It might be. It might be. And what the Laurel
that
Canyon was
like saying that it's all
some of his artwork was
from Timothy Leary and all the kind of CIA.
Yeah, that was it. It was basically what it was. Yeah, all of those massive bands from the 60s, you know, from the Doors, you name them, they all came from one spot. And a lot of their dads were generals in the army and stuff like that. So it's all a bit suspicious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's...
Yeah,
you know, you got the
because there was even levels with this. I mean, you remember at Branson's club? You remember? I remember I went there at one time, and Paul was on the door because he managed it, didn't he? And he said, he said, lads, he said it's all changed. He said all these security are SAS. Yeah. So we were like, okay, it's all right. We've already dropped it, Paul. It's cool. You know, so we're ready. So if you really, you know, the way it all sounds when I'm listening to all us lot speak, and I realise we were all in that same club. Yeah,
that's because
if he was writing it up, you know, it would seem like,
no, and he's clutching at straws, that guy, though. I mean,
did you see that lecture?
I was like, like my artwork's on there. You said my artwork was this. It's like, no, it wasn't.
Yes, your artwork was on there, Pez.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's not why that happened.
But we should mention what that is, because what we're talking about. I invited him on the podcast.
Yeah, I know you said
talk about it. Yeah, you know.
I watched the link you sent.
I'll invite him round my house if he wants a real chat.
My life, I'll never get back. It's like, wow.
Oh, is that what you meant? Oh, I thought you meant the podcast. Yeah. Oh, I see. Because what we're talking about, basically, we're talking about. He said he was a DJ at the time, Mark Devlin.
That's it.
And he's gone along this conspiracy route. And he was talking about Laurel Canyon as well. And basically, he did this lecture, which you can watch online. And basically, he's saying that we are all involved in Freemasonry and we're involved in the occult and
we are so
dehumanization and stuff like this, you know. And
his dots are really getting joined up very sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had one of those colouring books with joining dots, he's missing numbers out. There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, because sometimes, well, it's like a lot of these conspiracy things, you know, it's like, there is a bit of randomness to these things.
So you can't. It's clutching at straws, man.
Yeah, you know, you light a fuse, and then, but I feel like, and let's just say for example, he said that my Genesis and biology flyer, he basically, and it's the face with the two columns, and it's got biology's Vitruvian Man there, and basically he said that was Freemasonry and it was a cult, and I have to say. You know, maybe it is, but when we did it, we didn't know.
That wasn't there when you did it.
You
know? It's sort of like nice.
Yeah, like do you remember like biology's Vitruvian Man? To me, when I saw that in 1989, that was the World in Action logo. World in Action was a documentary series.
That is it.
I didn't know that was a Da Vinci.
He didn't know Da Vinci, and
I didn't know it was Vitruvian Man.
I mean, ratios and all that.
Yeah, we get cultured. Yeah, you know, the golden ratio. You know, we get cultured, and then we realise. But so I'm not saying there may have been some influence somewhere, but it wasn't that we were involved or our
Were we
parents were
being
involved. It was
manipulated,
random.
Wayne? I don't think so. We weren't being manipulated. No.
The only time when I say that it kind of was a bit murky was the whole freedom to party thing. It got a bit murky there because it felt like and what I mean by that, it just felt like there was outside influences that they used acid house as a disruptor.
That probably is what I was saying about they were happy to allow these things to happen because they needed the media stuff about it for
that was a good point
reasons so that they could further whatever their agenda was, without a doubt. But the thing about the Trafalgar Square one, because we did the sound, we stood on the speakers when it was done, everyone was there, and I counted the people. There was easily 20,000 people there.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And that had gone from like Trafalgar Square, where we've seen the pictures where it's a wipeout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? But then on the following days, there was nothing in the media about it at all, was there? There was nothing. But on the Saturday after, there was a nurses' demonstration with about 6,000 people there, and that was wall-to-wall media. Whereas we had got far more people than that the weekend before, and there was no media for it. And then you go like, wow.
Are you saying that the media is controlled by the government, Richard?
Well,
it was interesting that we learned that quite young, didn't we?
It was an eye-opener. Okay,
we learned quite young.
They're controlling the media because of us. Because of us, really?
Yeah. We learned quite young. Well, we should just say. We should also just say, like, just for people. Sorry, lad. Sorry. Just for people that don't know what it is, because one of the reasons why I decided to do this podcast, lads, was because I wanted to get some long form history down, and so I feel like these podcasts, once they're in a digital form, once they're out there, I feel like they're going to be around a lot long after we're gone, type thing.
Stories that we're saying and that are basically claiming ownership of stuff that is apt to be taken by other people, not of us, to be used for their own ends.
But imagine if you go back to a podcast of, say, the Moulin Rouge and Toulouse-Lautrec and all that kind of era, that bohemian explosion. That stuff's not there. It's now kind of been rehashed in art history and whatever. Whereas now you're going to be able to go back in 100 years' time and actually get to this information, see old cronies like us sitting here talking about this. It's going to be first-hand information, isn't it? Right.
I used to have beautiful curly hair, just so you know. Whoever's watching this in the future, we were proper handsome. We were proper cool in our time. I tell you what, mate, we were proper cool. I'm never wearing glasses now, but mate, in our day,
isn't that going to be interesting for the first time?
The internet.
For the first time, you're going to be able to go back and see, like, from the source with things like this, with the books we're doing.
And that's why I wanted to do this, and that's why, like, with the freedom to party, if we could just like explain to those people who don't know what we're talking about, the freedom to party, it was a groundbreaking event at the time, because all in terms of acid house and all the parties, the police pay party unit, which had been really funded, it'd been given massive budgets by the government. They'd done lots of firsts in the British policing history during that time. One of them was setting up a computer network up and down the country, which connected everyone together. That was the first time they'd ever done it. It was the first time police stations in England had ever shared information with one another. So it's quite a big thing. So we had it on top and it was against us. So along comes this chap, a young conservative. He works for Paul, I'll say his first name, Paul. And he brought along, a mindset and an operational mindset that he could pull off this freedom to party campaign. And so what he did, he started this association. It was called the Association of Dance Party Promoters or something like that. Do you remember it?
One second. You're talking about the Association of Pay Party Promoters and whatever.
Yeah. I think it was ADDRP or something.
Right, AP or whatever. Ray was involved with that.
Okay, Ray was on the board as well,
involved with that. Anita's, my girlfriend at the time, her sister's other half, friend of, they were brought in to do the logos. And so Ray Ray was actually heavily involved in all that.
Excellent, man.
Yeah,
excellent.
But then we blew up, so I don't know quite where it went. But I can remember that. Yeah.
But so whether it was used as a disruption, tool or whatever, whether or not acid house was weaponized to upset people in government, however it was used. But this event was organized in England And I would say it's probably the first event of its kind in the world where all these kids, all they were protesting for was their right to dance beyond 2 a.m.
Yep.
You know, I mean, someone might say, yeah, first world problems, but but you know, for us it was big.
It's good for you.
It was big. And so we had the event. The event, you know, it happened in Trafalgar Square, and it was packed solid. There was like 20,000. And what Richard was saying, I know I digress, but what Richard was saying was there was no media coverage. Now, and another reason he's saying it is because when we was up on the plinth, behind us was another plinth, and there was like a whole line of media cameras, photographers, you know, and they were from every single news outlet that was out there. So so when we saw that, we were encouraged by it. Do you remember, Rich? We were really encouraged because we felt
because we were busy breaking.
Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. So meanwhile, I should also point out, So meanwhile, because there's a big debate about this going on my profile on Facebook at the moment. But yeah, so meanwhile, we're at Trafalgar Square, and Richard and the boys, had you found a venue at this point?
It's like we were on call in the van, so you
you was driving around, waiting for a call to go here.
All those people, they were like, okay, we've got to go in now.
Yeah.
Paul, bless him, was saying we ain't going nowhere till you give us a few quid because you've already knocked us. You've knocked us
3 or 4 times.
Warehouses before.
Totally.
Right? So you know, so we.
I know I'm on that list. Sorry, boys. Sorry, Paul.
We got some money, and then we went in, and then the window was broken in, and then we've gone in there. You bring like the 1,000-car convoy down from South Mims, so that was a buzz. Well, you're going in, the shutters are going down, the coppers are wandering round. The caretaker for the whole estate has been kidnapped and put in a shed somewhere and given a drink or whatever.
Do you know that?
Glass of coffee and a sandwich, sir.
Listen, I remember the traveller pulled a shotgun out on Tarquin.
Excellent.
Yeah, he pulled it because
by the hand.
It's a pass.
Because remember the traveller, he brought in like the burger vans and that. Do you remember? Because at one time they was the only light in the building was coming off of these vans.
That's right. Until we got our one Freddie.
It was just him, wasn't it? You know. Yeah. Apparently, he pulled a shotgun out on Tarquin.
Yeah, that's cool. Whatever.
Yeah. He pulled a shotgun out on Tarquin and said, "Mate, pull up 500 quid, otherwise I'm going." Because Tarquin come up to us and said, "Mate, we got to pull up 500 quid or the geezer's going." You know, so we had to pull up the 500 quid. You know what I mean?
The other good thing about it, I mean, obviously we've done New Year's Eve at the Panasonic warehouse. There'd been this was before. In fact, that's right. But the problem from our point of view, at the Panasonic warehouse, Jarvis was there on New Year's Eve, and he went around with a bucket causing havoc on the mic, give us money.
We should talk about it. We should talk about it because so people don't know what we're talking about.
So there was a party on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So listen, I'll say it was like Genesis and Biology. We did a party on New Year's Eve, '89.
Had gone down the pan, hadn't it? Because Sunrise had gone down.
Yeah, they came later. But we'd already started the party. But when Sunrise came, the party had already started. Yeah.
No, their party went down the pan. So your party was the one.
No, I mean our party had already started.
That's right. At the Panasonic warehouse, where Paul had done the sound, and we all went there. I've still got the Sunrise tickets. I'll speak to Dave when I see him about that. I wind him up all the time. Dave Roberts, Sunrise. Right. So we're there. So Jarvis is going around annoying people on the mic, trying to get money. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. So let's just build that up a bit, brother. So we're at the party. The party's going off. There's thousands of people.
Yeah. And
Jarvis from Biology. He felt like everyone should make a contribution to the setup of the whole thing. So he got some buckets out. He got on the mic. Was going like, "Mate, put some money in the buckets." And he went round with a bucket. And this is what Paul. This is what.
South London 40 quid. South London 200 quid. Like, so respect to him for that. But it became a bit annoying.
I didn't get any of that money, just so everybody knows.
The point that I'm making, we love him to death. But one of the Brucey bonuses of Trafalgar Square was that Jarvis couldn't get to the party because the police stopped him from getting to the party. So we're all going, yeah.
So who had the bucket?
Stop the music. Announcement. Jarvis isn't coming with his bucket.
That's right. Do you know what I mean? Like, Jarvis can't get there, but we got Roger Rabbit running across the field with the dogs chasing him. Right, coming in where the broken window to the warehouse was, where we put the sound system. Like, we open the window, Roger Rabbit goes through, and the police are barking.
Where are we talking about? We're talking about Slough now, are we?
Radler. About Radlett.
Radlett.
Yeah, but the thing about the rabbit, because I remember seeing it. I was out the back of the warehouse.
The rabbit. What's the rabbit?
So look, so this guy's got a Roger Rabbit outfit on, and he's got he's got the rabbit face like in his eye, and he's running across the field like to try. And obviously you must embellish it as the years go on. But I see the bobbies, with a big bobby hat, and they're trying to catch
out of breath.
And it was, and it was kind of like like in baseball where they go safe, like that.
Yeah.
He's got through the fence onto, and he's like, everyone's like, gone safe, like that. And it was like, and they were good spirited. The cops were just like, all right, fair enough, move on. And he's trying to get it,
that's exciting, man.
Jarvis didn't get in there. So
but things like that are so exciting, man. Do you remember the Atmosphere party in Hackney Wick? Do you remember that one? That was like, remember Dave and Paul from South London, the ticket agents?
Right.
If anyone looks at any flyers from like 1989 to 1990, and they look in the back of it and they will see one of the ticket outlets and it will say Dave and Paul South London.
Okay,
See Dave and Paul South London, mate. They could sell 3,000-4,000 tickets in a day, no bother, because they were basically had an open house, so they were open 24/7 type thing. You go there and buy a ticket anytime,
whatever else they were selling.
Yeah, mate. So they did their party called Atmosphere, and we get back to what you were saying. So it's down Hackney Wick, but to get into that party, we had to climb over fences, we had to drop down to a canal, we had to go across locks, and the determination in everybody to get into that building. Considering it was surrounded by police.
That's what I think is the bit that's lost, and I try to explain like to my daughter or to or to younger people that work for me or whatever what it was about if they ask, and it's not so much once you're in the party and being at the party, it's all the stuff that went on around it, because now you can go to a festival and you can have a great time and all these kind of things you can do, but and getting in your car and driving to the festival and going whatever, to be like you just described there, feral, trying to get across,
any means necessary.
Anything you're going to do to get in there, or you got a whiff of a new party that was on somewhere else, and you'd be like, right, let's get in the car, and you drive however long, however far. Sometimes that was a more enjoyable part of the evening sometimes, because it was all with your mate.
And the difference between then as well and now, the difference between then and now as well is that when we was on the motorway, we would recognise the people that were going to the parties, and that was the great thing. Like now, it's like everybody, everyone's dressed conservative or whatever, so you don't really know. But you remember in those days, you pass a car, everyone's rocking their heads, there's acid house playing, they've got T-shirts on or something, and you look at them and they look at you and you're like, yeah, you're going to the party, It was so exciting. I mean, in the times that even when we had like roadblocks on the motorway and we all got out of our cars,
you would have people that
you made the best of it.
We were attracting everybody from all different segments of society. So you would have elements of people that, okay, where's the party? They find out where it is, and they would just go and nick a car to go to the party. So then you would be going around the M25. Where's the party? Oh, there's lasers over there. We pull off this junction. Oh, we can't. The police have blocked the junction. And then before you know it, one of the people who've nicked a car don't care, do they? So they just pull up just after the junction, go down the bank, head to the party. Before you know it, everyone's parked up on the motorways.
Totally, man.
You know what I mean?
And there's been some of those turnouts as well. I can't remember where it was. It was like Sunrise or Energy, where they made an announcement. That was one of the big ones, and they made an announcement saying that the tow trucks are out on the motorway, because it was an A road, and everyone had parked on the hard shoulder of an A road.
I mean, strictly speaking, we're breaking the law by doing what they were doing, things like that. The one that up in Essex, the A12, the 2 BP garages, which were the energy party that went on at 6 in the morning, because it got moved from 2 sites in South London, and eventually said, we're back on, new site, Raydon. Where's that? Oh, that's near Colchester.
It's just down the road from me.
What? So we're all driving up there. So you drive up the A12 and there's no phones, there's no nothing. Everyone's on the looking at their things, right? And then the word came out that the next meet point or the next person for instructions would be like the Whittam train station. So you come off
some
the
random
A12,
spot,
go to there, right, and then go back on. But there were so many cars that getting off the A12 there, through Whittam train station and back on, was just wall-to-wall cars.
Yeah.
So people of Whitton High Street were opening up their
Traffic
windows.
jam.
Going on. Acid
At
house
2 in the
party.
morning.
People, about 3, 4 in the morning. People are walking along the roofs of cars, chaos, mayhem. You get back on, and you've got people coming the other way down the A12 where they didn't find it in the first place, being told, oh, it's back up there. So everything stopped on the A12. The 2 BP garages got written off, didn't they? And everyone started taking themselves to the flowers and all this, that, and the other. And like, it was just.
But that was commonplace.
Brilliant.
You come out of a party somewhere, and then the first garage would just get lynched, and it'd be like it'd be 5 or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. There'd be some poor like guy or girl or couple behind the counter just going.
Well, or they probably didn't give them a pill.
And it was just like everyone's just helping themselves to like banana milkshakes and whatever, you know.
But the best ones used to be like when we were coming back from Sunrise or whoever. I mean, I remember coming back from the Sunrise White Wolven one, and we stopped, and I remember there was a massive convoy of cars all going back to London, and I remember we stopped at this small little village shop, and we pulled up. You can imagine it, you know, like all quiet, you know, birds singing and all this stuff. Then 100 cars pull up, you know, all these fucking drug-fueled Londoners. You know, and we're
all these friendly people,
you know, and we all went in the shop, and they would have newspapers with front-page stories about where we've just been. You know, and I remember we bought the whole stack. Like, and that time, just for people who might not know, it was a front cover.
Journalists were at the party, weren't they? And obviously, for the shock horror headlines the next day. Yeah,
totally. We're seeing them on the way home. Like, we haven't even got back home from the party. We're picking up a newspaper for like 8 in the morning or something. But this particular one, it was a front page, and it said "spaced out." 20,000 people on acid.
Yeah, got it.
So we'd pick that up and we'd be going, oh, look, we've just come from there. You know, the shopkeepers would just be shrinking backwards like, oh, my God. It says 20,000 people on acid. Are you dangerous? But they realised we weren't dangerous, you know. There was other times where we was driving along in a convoy, again, 2, 3 in the morning, some dark country lane somewhere, about 100, 200 cars. And we came across an army convoy, and they were transporting some sort of missiles or something, you know. And I'll never forget the look in their eyes when they looked in that rear view mirror. Saw all these headlights coming, thinking, what's going on there, you know? And then we pulled in behind them.
Being attacked or something. Or other
that's what I mean. It's like it's like 100, 200 cars. They're like, what the? So, and I remember pulling in behind them. I was leading the convoy on this particular day. I remember pulling behind them, you know, waiting for a spot because I've got 200 cars to get past these. There's about 5 or 6 vehicles, you know. Yep. So we're waiting for my turn, and then we just come past us bibbing, acid, acid. All the soldiers is hanging out the windows going, acid, acid. Fun. It's a fun. And I also say to people that although some of the stuff sounds like we're being aggressive,
no,
it was done in a fun way. It was never ever about aggression. It was never
frightening.
Well, I always
never about know what's going on, but that was the furthest thing from our minds.
I think we were just more like naughty, you know, like the old Centurion kind of thing, that old kind of English way,
more in that
of like, you know, and it was like that because you had, you know, you had your top. You know, your toffs, then you had like,
everyone,
black gays, whites, fat, thin, rich, poor, every kind of corner of society.
Everyone was touched, wasn't they? Every family.
Carry on England.
Carry on England.
Carry on England.
Carry on David, whatever.
Can you imagine that? I mean, every single family was touched, and I think that was one of the ways when they first started doing those stories. I mean, they really demonized promoters, didn't they? They made them, like you sell drugs to kids, and you know you've got these places where police, you know, thugs are walking around with guns, keeping everyone locked in buildings, and and 12-year-olds. And then there was other stories where they were actually trying to trip people out. You know, like they were planting these stories like, if you take MDMA, the likelihood of you seeing giant spiders is really high. That's a small little story in the Sun, you know.
No, I think the refreshing thing about it is now that now we can laugh about it, and we were there, so we can remember it. But for people that I saw, for example, at the Saatchi Gallery last year, where we were looking at the rave story thing there, it was just to see younger people, to see people that just didn't have a clue what it was about. To actually stand there, see some of the pictures, see, not everything was there, and some people were saying it doesn't really represent us or whatever, but there was enough information there to get a kind of an idea of what this was about, like you would for a punk exhibition or something. It's not like being there, but you could at least kind of imagine or try and drop yourself into that time. And I just think that it's now people can actually look through these media and the things that we're doing now and kind of actually realize how massive it was and what changes were made, and how the polarization that's going on now across the world is that we just need a little bit more of that era, just in politics, in all the different places that need that little sprinkling of, I wouldn't say sprinkling of anything, right? Yeah, I mean, but I would say just need that sprinkling of like, we are all the same. Whereas,
I don't know. I feel like there's something already in the water.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad, is what I'm saying. It wasn't a bad idea. And I think that without sounding too bohemian, it wouldn't hurt, would it? For people to kind of let go and be a little bit more like that and accepting of other people's cultures, other people's way of life. And it doesn't take dropping 3 ecstasy tabs and going in the middle of a field to do that. It is. And this is a way of us saying, look, come and learn from this. Look where we are now, with all your rules and all your drinking and this and that and the other. Is that this period and periods like it, have shown that you can. Football hooligans dancing next to each other from rival teams that would be cutting each other up on a Saturday.
Truce is called. If they saw you in the afternoon, you get your head kicked in. But on that same night, on that very same evening, you bumped into them in the warehouse. All good, man. You get in a cuddle, you get in a hug.
Stop, 6 o'clock.
We're
on a time limit. Mate, you got a pass until 10 a.m. All right.
Till the other
then,
side.
Like Warriors, you got to get home.
Warriors, come out. Right.
But it's actually true. I've seen it happen.
That's my political.
No, but I did see that happen. I saw that with my own eyes. I saw that different football hooligans hugging one another. Everything I just said, I saw.
Yeah. It brought everybody together. White, black, brown, everything. Football hooligans, villains. Even bank robbery went down as well as football.
Yeah. Ken Tuckerton, the head of the police pay party.
That's cool, but also once the fog of like the whatever you took to help engender that spirit, but once that had all gone and now moving away from it, at least it brought that realization to all of those things of how you can be.
Yeah. Yes, it gave you a vision.
Although it's now getting polarized again, it doesn't have to be like that, and you've got more tolerance level. There's more integration within our generation. When raving, definitely, which is that new generations have got to learn because they've been brought up polarized again.
I think they will after this. I think after this,
and that decade did more for race relations. That decade did more for race relations than 50 years of political race campaigns.
Definitely. Yes, definitely.
And I think it will come again after this period of like lockdown or whatever it is we're in at the moment. I think next year, maybe the year after it, I think the baton will be taken on by the next generation. I kind of feel it in the water. I think it's there. I think there's enough angst now and enough of
especially
of all
if they
this
do
kind
it.
I think they're I think the
Especially
rebellious.
if they keep it peaceful. If they keep it
I think
peaceful.
there is rebellion.
Yeah. I mean, look at all these. Listen, I mean, I've said on the podcast before that over this summer, I was getting calls from America, from like New York Times, CBS, all these lot. And they was all asking me about the third summer of love that was currently happening in London.
Right.
I was like, what? Third summer of love? What are you talking about? I've never heard of it. It's like, when? And they were like, no, it's happening right now. And I was like,
right under your nose.
I must be so out of touch because I didn't know that we were currently going for a third summer of love. So I don't know what they were talking about, but it would be nice.
Street parties and some
those street parties. That's nothing to what we're talking about.
I think it's anything at the moment for news, isn't it? For like anything to grab on.
So obviously you don't think this can happen again.
I
Or
think
you might actually.
I think you can. I mean, they've got all the
you're
tools.
quite positive.
Yeah, I've said this before about the technology that we had and what we did with it, and how we managed to create such a mess and noise with that limited resources.
One of the lasting legacies of what we did is the making it. Except basically we did parties, etc., and now that what we were doing is now every country has gone the same, hasn't it? They've all got their dance music party scenes.
Everybody.
The legacy of what we've done, we have spread around the world.
It's lift music now.
Something to be proud of, just forget your
Mate,
troubles.
it's lift music.
Have parties. Do you know what I mean? So that's.
Mate, it's lift music. You know what I mean? It's like when I'm listening, you know you've arrived. You know you've arrived when you get into the lift. And they're playing like fucking dance music. It's like, okay,
easy listening. Yes, Burt Bacharach does Acid House. Yes,
we're here. We're here. And so, you think there's a chance? And do you think it would be like drug fueled or technology fueled? Maybe.
I think it'd be a bit of both. I think you only have to think about some cyberpunk future, where you've got an emoji in front of your face and all this, this is how I'm feeling or whatever. You can imagine that. You only have to
I can imagine it.
20 years and think of that. I can imagine a place which we would only think of when we were kids that would be so futuristic, which is nearly in touch, isn't it? I mean, we'll have self-driving cars soon. We'll have this and that. And
So in the next 3 years, self-driving trucks.
Yeah, and I think that there'll be an analog switch off. I think there'll be a way that the kids will want to just disconnect,
go back
from that connection, and rebel it and say, no, tonight we're going analog, and this is how it's going to work. I don't mean that means they won't have the technology on and they won't be, but they'll want to enjoy themselves without selfieing and without.
Life is becoming more and more. It's a pressure cooker. And again, if you hold it down, it's got to pop up somewhere. So the ability and the want to go out and say scratch the itch or lose yourself in whatever way,
it's always going to be there.
And it has to be allowed to come forward. Otherwise, the whole pressure cooker is going to blow.
I know you're 100% right, mate.
And I think the people, and what was another thing of like us all talking now in our age and whatever, the powers that be and most of the people who are at the top of the tree and whatever, blah, 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 are now our generation.
Yeah.
And I would argue that most of them have all raved or been to a rave from Cameron to whatever, but they all know about it and whatever. So, you've got that element of people now running.
No, Mickey Flanagan says, he says that, it used to be when you was growing up.
Mickey Flanagan.
So he says, this is the social commentary in one little joke, right? Is when you're growing up, you used to hide the fact you was doing drugs from your parents, and now your parents are hiding the fact that they're doing their drugs from their kids. And this is that's a comment on society as a whole. All the kids eat tofu and plant-based food, whatever. We can all joke about it, and he does it very well. He does it in an inimitable style. But
it's bang on, nail on the head.
Whatever it is, whether it's just going to be good times, whether it's going to be an Evian infused water that's going to take you where you want to go, who knows what the next one is. But I do feel that we're in a similar place to we were back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, that oppression, that feeling of and I do think it's going to come, not just in maybe this country, but globally, because it's all connected now. So when it does happen, it's going to not just happen, say, in London or Detroit or wherever. It's just going to be instant, and everyone's going to be like, and they want to watch out because it's going to have
it happened overnight, basically.
Like this kid who got what's her name? Oh God, I can't remember. Thunberg. Thunberg. Greta Thunberg. Whatever. She's trying to save the world, and she did it like that. And a bit of social media, and there she is. And now we're talking about plastic, and David Attenborough's getting on the TV saying things are ending.
That's it.
It's
a Greta thing kind of social engineered.
A bigger version of the phone lines, isn't it?
It's going to be global. No, we're going to do this, and I'll be interested to see it. I hope I see it.
I hope I do. I mean, getting back to when I was watching that Let Me Be Your Fantasy PA, and then everyone was locked in their own cubicles. Like when I looked at that and I was trying to visualize the future, and I was thinking, well, I can kind of see having like those cubicles and maybe having some kind of like holograms or augmented reality or something like that, which basically comes to you in the tube. So it might not necessarily be up on the stage. It's basically it's in that box with you. You know what I mean? I see that kind of stuff, and that being like linked to your brain neurally or something like that. And
you could be at the party and you're not at the party, but you're all there.
Yeah.
You can be anywhere in some slum or some rich house or whatever, but you're all in the community online. Because look, I'm in the restaurant game. Kids now don't phone up to book a table. They want to book it online. They want to do this. Everything's like so that we can't fight against it. That's the way it's going. They're becoming much more, introvert in that way. But they're connected more than we ever were. But they're happy to do it that way. They're happy to.
Yeah, for sure.
Through maybe they'll think in the future in a text message we'll send them. So who says they're going to be in a warehouse? Who says they're going to be in there? They might be being naughty in there.
That'd be nuts, wouldn't it?
Can
you imagine everyone would be like hologram in a big warehouse?
Breaking into warehouses, but not for real. But doing those experiences, doing those crazy things.
That'd be like a Westworld. That'd be like a Westworld program. You can
maybe
go
on
and
another
break into
planet.
load of warehouses.
To some planet, right? They go to some planet. It's a VR planet where they're going to party.
The thing is, the thing is about that. If that was to happen, that means that somebody else has to provide them for that. Yeah. What we did is we just went out and we created our own thing.
DIY.
That is a world where it is Westworld, where there is a bigger thing that's actually
but
giving them that.
But you could be that promoter. You could be like the digital promoter, right? Who's got a crack into this computer system, and you can all join tonight at 8 o'clock, right? And then once you join, and you get online, and then you get your buzz text over to you, and that's it. You're in.
Rich, we're definitely going to know who the hackers are, so I think we'll be all right.
But it's not for us. It's not for us, man. It's not for us. It's for the next lot.
We'll find some back doors. Mate.
Well, it's still incumbent as well. It's incumbent upon us to provide entertainment for all the people that we have created who now want to go out and scratch.
Sure. And let's talk about that, because obviously now, because you still do parties.
Yeah,
and obviously now everything's changed. So what's it like now to do parties with all these COVID restrictions?
Obviously, I've kept a close eye on it, and obviously you've got these socially distanced events, and we're all aware of places like a place up in Cuffley where you've had 2 Centrefolds parties, a Clockwork Orange party, and there's loads of your more clued up venues are doing socially distant barbecues, drum and bass barbecues, and all that sort of stuff. So I've been to those events and I've looked at how they've happened. I'm happy to put one on at the Cause on the 1st of November, because I'm happy that I will be offering my rain dance people.
They know what to expect from you.
They will be able to enjoy themselves there, because I've seen that. At the moment, I'm going to go there weekly and see what lockdown happens. And if it ends up that the product that they're going to be allowed to provide is, I don't think, up to scratch, then I will cancel the event.
Yeah, for sure.
The people will follow that, and they're not going to be upset about it, because they know we're trying to keep the door open rather than being completely sat on. But
and it must be quite expensive now as well. I mean, obviously you're going to have need all the extra security. You've got less people, so you're not earning as much.
Yeah. Your break evens are all over the place because your capacity is way down. There's one advantage in that you only have to I'm a multi-arena event, but now I can only do a 1 arena event.
Okay.
So
so that saves you on 5 times the DJs.
Totally, and also our crowd as well are of an age where they're musically literate, so they can go on a journey from 88 through to upfront drum and bass or whatever. If it's presented correctly musically, you can get away with that. So obviously your costs have gone down that way, but your capacity is like the one I'm proposing is 250 people. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of 40 tables of 6 that we're doing. But I've seen it.
What's that? £100 a ticket? I mean,
we're charging £15 a ticket.
50
quid. We're not.
Yeah, you're not kicking them in the bollocks.
No, it's me and my partner doing it. 'Cause it's rain dancing, it's Capel. So if it all sells out, we'll go away with a few quid that makes it worth our while doing it. Yeah. They are happy. They've had to scratch their itch. The venue is still surviving and keeping on going.
Sure.
But we're actually, we're still here. We haven't given up.
No, mate.
And
you've still got the energy for it, mate. You've still got the love for it.
You're doing it with your podcast. Pez is doing it with it. We're doing Cult to Culture. I'm still doing it. Do you know what I mean?
And that's another thing we should speak about. I mean, you guys, you do your art exhibitions as well, don't you?
That's it. Yeah.
So at the moment we've got the Cult to Culture books. We got book 1.
Yeah. Cut to Culture book. So let's talk about the books, because I
also
also want to promote what you're doing now as well. So so the Cut to Culture book, we can get that book right now.
Last year, we brought out the 2 books. So the first one was Cult to Culture book 1, which was basically a series of photographs covering a period of rain dance history. So in there, Skippy was the photographer, wasn't he?
Friend of mine who died, but he used to take photos. So we put some of his history of pictures
nice.
to do with that's it, to do with the Jenkins Lane period of rain dance. So that book was out there. And then the second one was the Jenkins Lane period of rain dance, but featuring all of Steve's artwork.
Yeah, so basically it's like a scrapbook of why so each of my flyers I did for the Jenkins Lane era, and the stage sets and all the things I used to do. A lot of people didn't know I did that. So all the stage sets, all the backdrops that used to hang up.
I didn't know you did that.
In the parties, in Well Dance, Rain Dance, all of them used to do them. But so that they were all sort of like, it was a behind the scenes look from my point of view, why I painted that flyer, what it was like to be there at the time, and it's kind of like a little A5 like fanzine thing. So that's book 2.
It's a way of
now we're looking at doing book 3, which is Jungle Fever.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing is they're little niche coffee table books that tell tales that would never ever see the light of day under current publishing, because they're
the doing this
mainstream publishing. So they're there, telling a little story. The next one will be my period when I started Jungle Fever before I left them and then went back to doing Rain Dance. So there'll be that period.
Nice one. Because again, Rain Dance. Because again, Rain Dance, basically, they grew, and you grew into a massive brand where it wasn't just house music. You incorporated the jungle at the very early stages as well. You were playing the jungle when it started. Jungle and drum and bass.
It wasn't known then, was it? It basically wasn't.
No one knew what it was called.
The DJs maybe we called him that, but nobody. You certainly didn't have a jungle.
Didn't have a label.
No, I mean, it was hardcore, wasn't it? And then
hardcore. That's right. Handbag house.
We blew up. We blew up at Easter '92. Rain Dance ran it with it for a while and went into the ground. I then morphed into following the bass line, as my ear did, and I started Jungle Fever. So I did that for a period, and then I went back.
Jungle Fever grew into a massive brand. I mean, you're one of the leading brands in the game, so we can't underestimate that.
When we did it, I'll fly my own flag for a bit. When we did Jungle Fever, I came away from the Rain Dance world where I was known on a bigger level, because I was the face of Rain Dance around the country. So that meant that I was able to go to anybody and walk into a venue and have a history where they would talk to us.
Definitely.
Because my partner was Phil Cool FM, right?
Yeah.
So he was street level, right? And no way would he be able to talk to those people. So I brought that to the table of Jungle Fever, got us into that world and an understand that world. But also we used all the BBC props.
Wow.
We had connections with the BBC prop department. So we did the Jungle Fever, were all themed parties. So there was horror, there was Indiana Jones, there was Romans, there was
man,
and all that. So they were all themed parties, etc.
Wow. And this is what year is this? This is like 93 or something?
August 93. Yeah. So it was new venues, which I was able to break.
New music.
Totally new music, but not messed around. This was purely jungle. Get on with it instead of breaking.
And it was British as well, and that was the other development, wasn't it?
Right,
this was a purely British developed sound.
British, and a complete cross culture. It wasn't urban and black, which elements kidnapped.
Oh no, it was everybody.
It was of that, but we had new venues, brilliant production values, etc., and also cut out flyers. So I'm to blame for that whole period where everyone was producing cut out flyers.
Which I produced the flyers.
Yeah, so he was doing that.
Was those giant flyers? Because you started doing those giant flyers at one time, didn't you? They were massive. They were like the biggest. First it was A4, wasn't it? And then
and we went stupid. Yeah.
And then it was just like
a little anecdotal story about the props from this place. So before they'd done Jungle Fever and had all the props, the connection at the prop studios where they do all the films and stuff, Elstree Studios, they had at Arena Essex, I think it was, on stage. They had the Ark from Indiana Jones, right?
No way.
Yeah, because obviously when they make the film, they have probably 10 or 12 arcs or whatever, don't they? different scenes. Yeah? So this one's it's a golden arc, right? And it's on the stage.
Wow.
Anyway,
dude.
so at the end of the party, I had the ump about something. I was pulling down my backdrops, this and the other. Maybe I didn't get paid or something, whatever. Or I was just being cheeky. Anyway, we nicked the arc.
Mate,
Right,
I'd nick it as well, to be fair.
We nicked the Indiana Jones arc, stuck it in the back of the Mazda van with everyone. There's about 6 of us, 7 of us in the Mazda van. All that. So we got the stage set and we got the arc. Anyway, the arc sat in. We had a at the time we were living in my mate Carmen's house, and he had a bay window in the 70 Sachs house. The arc sat in the window.
No way.
It was like one of those houses you talked about, Paul and Dave's house, right? Like South London. So everyone would be around the weather. Go, what's that? It's the arc, isn't it?
No way, mate.
No. About 3 or 4 weeks later, it's all come a tumble, and we get a call. Hi, this is Elstree Film Studios, prop department. Someone's given me your number, as you might know the whereabouts of the arc. So if you return the arc, no more will be said about it.
There's a chapter title.
There's the arc. So there we are, back in the Mazda van with the arc, trundle down to Elstree one damp Monday morning, returning Indiana Jones's arc.
It's just a shame you didn't get stopped on the way home from the ride
just
by the police. Imagine the police.
Yeah.
Stop with the arc. What's that? What's
the
that?
arc?
The arc, mate.
Well, so.
Oh, mate.
But I wish I hadn't given it back.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to, don't you? You have to do what you got to do, mate. But so you've done that. So you got all the books. Where can they get the books?
So they're on my website, which is peslondon.com, where there's all sorts of other things as well. You can get Pez prints and Pez artwork and different things.
Yeah.
And there's also culture.com. And
you still do commissions, don't you? I mean, you're out there. You do loads of prints and stuff.
Yeah,
do you still do commissions?
Yeah, I still do original artwork. New artwork as well. There's nothing to do with rave artwork. I'm busy running restaurants at the minute as well, so that's kind of keeps me busy. But the artwork is what keeps me sane.
Did you do that Beyond Therapy? Did you do the Beyond Therapy flyer?
Maybe imagine if the conspiracy theorist or whatever his name was.
Yeah, imagine if they saw that.
If they'd have seen that one,
dude, they're eating babies.
Let's give it a little window into the Beyond Therapy flyer quickly. You don't know the Beyond Therapy flyer, everybody. It's a picture of 2 babies that are really happy and they're looking at each other in the sky and they're reaching out Michelangelo style to each other, all beaming smiles, but they're cut in half, like, I've done a kind of vivisection on them.
It's like a 3D type thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So
you done like a Damien Hirst on them.
Yeah, before he did the sheet. So I reckon that Damien Hirst went to one of the parties, saw the flyers, like, right, sheet. And so there we were. It's back in the day. So I'm trying to do this flyer, which I said I could do for Beyond Therapy. And so I've gone out and I've trying to find some. You couldn't go online then. There was no online.
No,
so
there was no internet.
I'm going around charity shops. I've done the library to death. I know what's in there. And so I'm trying to find old magazines or things, flick through and try and find something that's going to inspire, what I'm thinking. I want something beyond therapy. Anyway, so I see this kind of, I can't remember if it was a science magazine or a family magazine or baby magazine, whatever. And I've seen these 2 babies sitting there, like pointing at each other. And so that's it. I've gone to my friend at the time. We was out and about, a girl called Raina, and we were sort of just wandering around Southend. And so then we've gone back and I've gone, well, cut these babies out and I put them on my spacey background. But it just wasn't enough to disturb, because that was the idea. It's like it's got to disturb. It's got to like disrupt. What's this about? What's it's got to be quirky. It's got to be like it's not hitting my spot. Yeah. So anyway, I just got my scalpel out, because we used them back in the day to doing artwork. And I've just trimmed the little hand off of one and moved that across. Then I've cut them both in half, moved them across, and goes, that's it. That's it, done. Job done. And so then they come round and picked it up and they've gone, Pez, what's wrong with you, man? I've gone, yeah, that's it. That's a bit dark, isn't it? I go, no, trust me, go with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's gone out there, and I didn't realise, like you said, they were going to do them on these big posters, like A2 posters, and people are like going around with 150 posters on their arm.
Oh, mate, those posters.
For me, like my second flyer, that was a third flyer.
Amazing.
That to go like for the boys, like to put that out like in
like that
and the flyers that big. I was just
that's
man.
all city, man. That is all city, dude.
So we're coming out of probably one of your parties or Jarvis's parties or wherever. We're coming out, and there's a couple of coppers there. They with their token coppers just like scratching their head like in cold. Anyway, they've been handed one of these flyers, and I've told this story before. I've happened to just be there when this copper gets this little flyer with Beyond Therapy on, and he's literally turned around and gone, "What's wrong with these people?"
Oh, what a moment, mate!
What a
classic moment!
And it was just really that's how we were. We were the babies. That was us.
Classic
We were the disaffected, cut up people from society all together in this euphoric background, and like just happy to be together. Nothing was going to stop us smiling, even being cut in half.
It's even like when I've digressed slightly. When I left Slough Panasonic building New Year's Eve,
love that.
And there was a police T van outside, an official police T van, you know. And I went past, and I was walking past, and he said, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and he said, Happy New Year. He said, would you like a cup of coffee? So I stopped. At first, you think, is he setting me up here? You know, going to walk near the van and they're going to just run around and grab hold of me or something, you know? Because that night I'd run through, when I arrived at the warehouse, there was a interlocked chain of policemen and soldiers. You know what I mean? So I'd run through that. So that's why I got a bit paranoid. But then he gave me a tea and I was like, oh, Happy New Year. And I just wandered off drinking my tea, just looking back at this official police tea truck, you know. There's just some mad moments that just spring out of nowhere, you know. And like the flyer that you're speaking about,
weren't they? They were just observers, weren't they?
Yeah, they were just observers. They didn't care.
They were scratching their head, going like, "Why are we here?" More than anything else. What
than anything else.
They've got a police van, and then that means that the instructions from on high are to let this party happen, and they're not
just observe.
Not looking
it's come from higher.
People, you know what I mean? Because after Trafalgar Square at Radlett, like we were tearing it down, and we were tearing it down speaker by speaker. Yeah. And still thousands of people were there when we were down to one speaker, and still people were there. So then that eventually drifted away. We put the final box away, and then we were like, okay, well, we're going to get arrested now. Right? We got in, started driving out, and they said, good morning, good luck, lads. And like, we're going,
this is Slough, yeah?
You know what I mean? Yeah. No, this is the Radlett one.
Radlett, yes.
I don't think we got arrested at Slough either, but
yes, mate.
You just got used to it, like, you know, it was like,
I think that's few like they're just getting out of their system.
I should say, just getting back to what you said about just to finish on the Beyond Therapy flyer, Pez, is that, and you were right, just for the people that are listening, you were right. That was an amazing flyer, mate. It stood out. That had a high impact on the whole culture. We were just like, wow. And it wasn't, the first thing to mind wasn't this geezer's sick in the head. You know, it was like, it was like a representation of like consciousness. You know, the joining of consciousness. It was, you know, it was on a high level, mate. So
it was just for us. It was just
hats off for that flyer, mate.
Just trying to get something that was speaking what I was feeling and what everyone else was feeling. And that was my job. And I was really fortunate. I must admit, you know, to go back, is that coming out of biology and getting a piece of like photocopied paper and going, I can do better than this. Come on. And I was just, I wanted to just try and encapsulate how we was all feeling somehow. And I hopefully did pretty good job.
Oh, you did, mate. You did well, mate. You did well. And to think that some of those flyers and some of that artwork, they can actually get on your website now.
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
So you can get in all sorts of shapes and forms. You can get cushions if you want. You know, if you want.
Got fully immersed out. Look, you got some good stuff, mate. I saw it. Look. Excellent. That's all the ones you did as well.
We've gone into soft furnishing, mate. Soft furnishing.
What's them smileys in the background there?
There is, isn't there? They're Richard's.
Richard, Richard, you embraced those smileys, didn't you, mate?
That's right. Look,
this is the newer stuff.
Oh, I really like that, man. I tell you what, I saw that on your website, mate. I love that, mate. I love that. That is cool. I'll have to get a question off you. Definitely. I really love that. So lads, so what do you think of the future now? I mean, we already kind of discussed the future, how we think the raves and that are going to be. But do you think, I mean, for you, Pez, I mean, you're still doing the commissions. You're still doing lots of things in the artwork. You've got books coming out. You've got new books coming out. For you, Richard,
well,
you're doing parties. How often do you think you could, well, obviously this one in November is a test for you, isn't it?
Yep. Other than that, like before before COVID, Rain Dance, we did my birthday party at Heaven. So the big venue, because all the original raves went to Heaven, so the ideal venue. We did that, and so Rain Dance will go back to Heaven. We've got a date proposed of the 21st of April. 21st of February next year at Heaven. I would suspect, because that's within the 6 months of nothing changes, that will go out the window. But moving forward, Rain Dance will look to be doing regular parties at Heaven, that sort of thing. And then like Kapow, my little new drum and bass thing that I do with my partner, DJ.
Okay, what's that? Tell us about that.
It's Kapow.
What's it called? Kapow, okay. Excellent.
Again, the first one that we did, again, I love a themed party, so we did it based on the 1960s Batman and Robin, Kapow, and all that. So we did, it was a themed party, backdrops and all sorts of stuff, and visuals and cutouts.
Fun, mate. It's a lot of fun.
So we'll be doing that with Kapow, and that's like rolling drum and bass, which I love. So I'm going to see where.
And where can people get more information on that one?
I couldn't tell you at the moment, Wayne, because you've caught me cold.
yeah, it's not mainframe. Okay,
it's out. Just go into Kapow, and it'll come up.
And what about how can people get hold of you, Richard? I mean, is there a Rain Dance website? And
there are lots of things out there, Wayne, that other people run for me.
I know.
Because I keep things separated. There is a degree.
You do what you're good at, mate.
Between me and
well, that's fair, mate. That's fair. You do what you're good at, mate.
It's on social media. Just have a little look.
I'm on the internet, yeah.
I'm on the internet. It'll be. I think I'm there as Richard Rain Dance.
Yeah. I mean, Rain Dance. I'm sure you got a website.
So
I'm sure you got a website.
It's all out there, Wayne. It's all out there.
But anyway, you are on social media. You got groups and stuff on Facebook.
Just for you, exactly. It's called Rain Dance Rave on social media. If you want to go and check it out.
There you go. And you got a party on the 1st
of November. Cause in Tottenham. That's a Sunday, and it's from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Socially distanced at the Cause in Tottenham.
And when's your new book coming out?
Right,
we're doing the Jungle Fever one, hopefully before the end of the year,
before Christmas.
All the stuff
before Christmas. Wow!
And the other thing is that the Rain Dance, which would usually be happening in February, the slightly late Valentine's Ball, we somehow kind of lost a piece. We lost a piece of artwork for it, right? We lost a pice of artwork for 28 years.
Yep.
Right.
No way.
I did it for Rain Dance, and it was probably my best Rain Dance piece, actually. Anyway, so the reason it went missing in our collective consciousness was because it never got printed as a flyer, so therefore there was no evidence of it being
just extra piece of paper.
Yeah, so here it is. This is the piece of artwork, right?
Oh, cool.
Yes, that's a really nice piece. Anyway, so
this, how old is that?
28 years. So it turned up on the back of a Blaze magazine as an advert, right? So it obviously got out there just as an advert.
Yeah.
Never happened. I think Ray put it out as an advert at some point. So anyway, I've managed to get that back, reclaim it, and get it up to spec for the next Rain Dance. So after 28 years of it being in hiding, it's now going to be the next Rain Dance flyer.
So here we go again.
So once we can,
we'll be here in 10 years' time. So Richard,
once we can gather again, once we can gather properly after the COVID or whatever, the slightly late Valentine's Ball will have the. Look, I mean, it's got a ball in there.
Yeah, it's nice. Look, it's got a ball.
It's got a ball. That's it. Done job. And so therefore, that was quite interesting this year. So I found a piece of artwork that I didn't know I had.
Very cool. Very cool.
Nothing else. So I'm just going to be carrying on doing parties.
Just doing parties. That's your thing, parties, mate. That's good. So if anyone wants to get hold of you, if anyone wants any information, you can go on social media. I do recommend getting their books because their books are a great documentation of that period in history.
Stuff that would never be light of day otherwise. So it's cool.
Yeah, I know. But Richard's always low key. Richard is always low. He always undersells himself. So we're going to sell for him, right? Get the books. Cut to Culture. Look out for the Jungle Fever. Go to the website. Look out for him on social media. Join these events and put your name down on the list. The thing about it, if there's anyone going to be doing parties, I mean, the Rave at the Cave Boys, they're going to be doing some parties.
I'm working with
Richard
as well, so working with him on those, so that's good.
Yeah, Steve. With Steve, you're working with Steve, yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So these lads are going to be doing parties. So put your name down on their mailing list. It's worth doing. Again, with Pez, he does loads of commissions. You can buy loads of artwork from his websites, and generally they're accessible.
Yeah, and if you go on Instagram, there's at Pez Flyers, right? At Pez Flyers, you will just see well, I'm only up to about 93 at the moment. And
93 flyers.
Yes, and I'm only up to like the year 93.
So up to, yeah.
And it's like,
if you're only up to the year 93.
And I think the thing about it is that what people don't, one of the things I come across now in particular is that obviously people don't realise that I did that particular flyer or that one, like Well Dance, Rain Dance, Boomscape, all these different ones. And so by going onto the flyer page, which is just the flyers, right, or sketches from the flyers, you go, wow, okay, so this guy did quite a few then. So even me, I'm like, wow, yeah. People send me pictures of flyers and stuff and go, oh, did you do this one? I go, oh yeah, I did that one as well. Yeah, so if you want to check out exactly, how many flyers there are, or keep track on as they get released now, as I'm putting them up there each week, you'll get to see the full collection eventually when we get up to 2,000. And then that'll be it. So yeah, if you want to have a little look, that's it at Pez Flyers. Cool. There you go.
Excellent. Well, lads, I mean, it's been really inspiring. Again, when I do these podcasts, it is for the future. It's not necessarily, it is for us, but it's more for people in the future so they understand. Because the amount of students that I get that contact me and say, oh, can I interview you for my coursework and stuff like this? So all of this will form a basis of, a further education for so many different people. So I'm really happy that you came on, and we definitely got to get you on board again. And I will definitely see you at the next party. Thanks for being on, lads, yeah? All right, listen, I'm going to cut off. Thanks for having us, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Do you think it's anything to do with a certain religion, do you think?
No,
is it anything like that?
No, it's more to do with a kind of a drug, isn't it? It's a drug.
Yeah, well, those that take it ought to be ashamed of themselves.
According to The Sun, there were thousands of empty ecstasy wrappers littering the floor of the 250-foot-long hangar.
Drugs, sex, sensation.
Some newspapers have called Acid House Music a sinister and evil cult which lures young people into drug taking. The message is certainly getting across.
The organisers kept the location secret until the very last moment, which was the main reason, according to the papers, why there were so few police here and they were unable to act.
Drug-crazed kids, some as young as 12, boogied for 8 hours yesterday at Britain's biggest ever ecstasy bash.
The party took place here, infiltrated by reporters from the Mail and the Sun.
There's meant to be a drugs-related craze.
What do you know about acid house music?
It must affect the brain in some way.
Unless it's just the music that does it.
All them lights flashing don't do you any good either, do it? I wouldn't even go in the pub where them lights are.
Oh, no,
they drive you mad, don't they?